Hey, what's up guys? Today we are going to investigate on the topic about the mandatory CSR in the United States. I'm Keith and I'm going to show you why CSR should be mandatory in the United States and particularly for listed company and how it benefits the whole society in different aspects. So first of all, let me ask you a question. Just a very simple question. How to make the society better to live? You don't have to answer me right now, just keep that in mind first. Let me share a bit of the background first. So what is CSR? As many of you know that it's actually the abbreviation of corporate social responsibility. The general idea is a continuing commitment by business to behave ethically and contribute to the economic development. And it had divided into three parts, which is people, business ecosystem, and environment. So for people, it basically means company carry out their business with respect of human right, ensure the people health and safety, and promote equal opportunity and diversity. For example, following a workplace health and safety program to protect labor and employing workers from different backgrounds. So for business ecosystem, it is to provide a business sustainable solution and act ethically. So for instance, is to follow the code of ethics and participating in fair trade. For environment, it is to mitigate climate change and reduce pollution, and also innovate a circular economy, such as reducing carbon footprint and make environmentally conscious investment. So here comes why mandatory CSR is for listed company. So from successfully proving the business model to raise funds through IPO, a listed company considered belonging to the public and having such a huge social impact. However, many companies with power and money, they stop at nothing, strive for profit, and the profiteering behavior make lots of negative impact and creating harm to the society. To stop them carry out business model without the consideration of the social impact, the government should be one of the most important role to implement mandatory CSR as soon as possible to list the company and eliminate all the negative effect brought from their irresponsible behavior as early as we can do. So with that being said, to effectively monitor whether company carry out the business responsible practice, mandatory CSR should be implemented by government to list the company, to punish company non-compliance for CSR framework and require them to report the CSR action in annual report. So the enforceability of mandatory CSR managed to reduce the risk of company unscrupulously pursuing for profit and to create a healthy environment to general public, business, and basically everyone. However, some people may argue that it is impossible to carry out the mandatory CSR. But the fact is some countries such as India, Denmark, and France had already classified CSR under the corporate law and successfully expand companies' business consideration into a wider social context. With the 2% law in India, it requires certain affected companies to spend 2% of their average net profit in the last 3 years to CSR. This results in social impact spending increased by 50%. For Denmark, the largest 1,000 Danish company must state their work on CSR in the annual report, and the result is, for environment aspect, it results in reduced water consumption and carbon dioxide by 10% and 30% respectively. And for human rights, there is no violation of right observed after imposing such regulation. In France, listed and unlisted companies with more than 500 employees and 100 million euro in revenue have to employ a third-party assurance to check their CSR practice. And the result is recorded 96% of the company reporting CSR annually, while other company like British company only having 61%. As we saw, the government of those foreign countries had already implemented mandatory CSR. We understand it is not impossible and it possibly generate successful result like those companies. So here comes to why government should implement mandatory CSR. First is utilizing the capital and resources of public company to contribute to the society. So according to Siblis research, the total market capitalization in the United States stock market had already over $36 trillion, while NIPA showed that the corporation in the United States make profit at around $2.25 trillion. Imagine if we adopt the 2% rule like India. The expenditure towards CSR across all the public company would be $45 billion per year. With such a great amount of money contributed by listed company, mandatory CSR could effectively leverage their profitability to impact the society. Simultaneously, public company has a general impression to everyone they are successful and having great power and having great amount of power. That's why they could be listed in stock exchange. Mandatory CSR could leverage the positive influence of the public image to motivate other startup company or private company to do the same with being responsible to society. Finally, of course, it could benefit the living standard of the whole society by enhancing the equal opportunity for everyone, for the people aspect, create a sustainable environment for environment aspect, and following a fair and ethical business practice for business ecosystem aspect. However, what if there is no mandatory CSR? Sweatshop, overexploitation, dishonest practice, to mention but a few, are common consequences for businesses overly concerned about the profit and ignoring the social responsibility. An example of Enron scandal in 2001, in order to enlarge the earning numbers, they used a lot of accounting loophole to hide its toxic asset and big amount of debt which is illegal. Enron then filed the bankruptcy and stock dropped to less than $1 from $90. Besides having such consequences, this case also reflected the company with lack of CSR ethical concern would have such a great negative impact. In this case, it evaporates shareholders' wealth and losing $1 billion in employees' pension benefit. So as we see, with such a large impact of public company to society, mandatory CSR could prevent company creating negative impact and ensure them to set up a CSR-oriented business model. With great power comes great responsibility. Listed companies should take their responsibility to execute CSR. If we want to better control their social responsible practice, mandatory CSR should be carried out by the government and to effectively monitor the implementation through legal enforcement. Alright, so let's go back to the first question, how to make the society better to live? Of course, there's many ways to achieve this. However, if you think about who is the most influence to the society and who having the most power determine the overall living environment for everyone, it is of course the one who have the most capital and resources, right? And this is just what I'm mentioning today, which is those big corporations and public companies. They are the backbone of our economy. To make the society better to live, the government should implement mandatory CSR to those influential public companies to incorporate their business model with consideration of CSR. The government are the most important role to carry out the policy and make it legally enforceable. And this policy could result in enhancing a healthy business environment and make our society better to live. Alright, this is the end of my presentation. And I hope that you would also understand why CSR should be mandatory in the United States and for those listed companies. Thank you.